You're watching the award-winning GHS-TV, a nationally recognized student television station.
Welcome to Let's Talk Business. My name is Kelly Bolton, and thank you for tuning in as we have the distinct pleasure of hosting our community's foremost leaders, entrepreneurs, and civic heroes. For this show, we are going to discuss something that our viewers I hope never have to practice, but with many things in life, we need to be aware and informed. Today, we'll be talking with Mr. Scott Throckmorton. He's owner of Patriot Security Group, and we'll be discussing some basic skills and tips on how to best protect and defend yourself in a threatening situation. Scott has years of military experience, and he's also a father to a college-age daughter like myself. So this is near and dear to him to educate folks on how to protect themselves. So, without further ado, join me as I welcome Scott to the show, and we will learn more about some practical yet critical skills. Scott, thank you for coming to the show, and it was great to reconnect. I know we go way back to part of the work that you've done in the industry and security. So first of all, thank you for your service. You have a very distinguished military career, and I would be remiss if I did not start out by thanking you for your service to our country. So thank you. I know you're not a person to boast on your credentials, but I would love for you to tell people about your background, because hearing your background just reiterates to us what the skills that you have and the knowledge that you have.
Well, oddly enough, you use the term service, so that's the way I view it. I spent 25 years in our military. I did 14 in the Navy, 6 in the Air Force, and 5 in the Army, because I couldn't make up my mind on what to do.
Wow, unbelievable.
I have been a police officer at the federal level. I currently do background investigations for the federal government, to include CIA and Border Patrol. I own a security company, as you mentioned, Patriot Security Systems Group. I also teach firearms, self-defense to numerous entities, whether it be schools or businesses. Wow. And again, I'll say the word service. Some people have it in them to protect others. And I think as my adult life continues, that's what I've done since I was 20 years old.
That's amazing. Well, it's impressive, very impressive.
Thank you.
Do you sleep?
I do.
I don't know when you'd have
According
time.
to my wife, a lot, but maybe 5 hours a night. I do wear a lot of hats.
Yes.
And I am moving quite a bit, but I've always been that way, and I'm afraid to slow down.
Right. There's so much to do.
There is.
There is so much to do, which we're going to get in and talk about this on the show. How would you say your military background prepared you for civilian life?
The military, first of all, it taught me to be early, not on time, but early. Mm-hmm. Second of all, it helped discipline me. As a young man, and as a young person in general, I think discipline is very important in anything you choose to do, whether it's sports or family, home life, or a profession. The next thing it showed me was the world. You know, I grew up in Bald Knob, Arkansas, and I have literally been to more countries than I have states in the U.S.
Wow.
And were it not for the military, I wouldn't be able to say that. So it showed me the world.
That's amazing. You know, I think it's true, and I will tell you, in my life, the people that seem to have the most respect for others and respect for their job and what they've been asked to do, it's the military. And it seems like such a great background for people to start in, because it teaches you that discipline. And no offense to the kids or young adults that are watching the show today, but it seems to be in many walks of life there's some discipline and some respect for others that seems to be missing. And the military background is just phenomenal. I know that you've done some work on campuses,
Right.
and that's where I first met you, was some work on a campus. and for security. And we're filming this show at a fabulous school, a fabulous campus, and it's being filmed by these most amazing students that are the students that are disciplined and hardworking and show up on time. But can you give the students doing the filming and our viewers a little bit about your background in campus security?
Well, I became the first security director at Hutchinson, which is a private school here in Memphis. It was shortly after the Sandy Hook incident, and the theory was with campus shootings and public shootings in general was to put a good guy to stop the bad guy. And that's the most simple way to put it. And that actually came out during my interview process, believe it or not. So I took that and literally ran with it. I developed all aspects of physical security. I developed the camera program. I developed the response to an active threat issue. I don't like the term active shooter because you can be an active threat without having a weapon. So I did that for a decade.
That is phenomenal. And what advice would you give students on campus to protect themselves, to be aware? Because I will tell you, I'm as guilty. I'm like the kids. I don't look that young, but I'm like the kids. You know, you get going where you're going, you grab your cell phone, you're looking down, you're paying attention to the phone, you're on the phone, you know, trying to multitask just because there's so much to do. That seems to me one thing that people need to be aware of. But you tell me, what do they need to do? You
actually mentioned my top reason of defense, and that's being aware. There's a lot of things in life daily that distract us, and one of the world's worst is having your face stuck in your cell phone or a tablet or a laptop. We're not on target as far as our surroundings. So being aware is number one. Self-defense is not how big you are, and it's not how strong you are. Your mind is your best weapon.
Oh, that's a good tip. You know, what about people in their car? You know, I'll see people sometimes pull their car in a parking lot and their car's running, or maybe they're just sitting there and they're taking a nap, or they're hanging out, playing on their phone, working, and I've done it before. What do you think about that?
Well, if you are going to do that, and I do recommend, if you're going to send a long text, read a long text, or make a call, pull over and get off the road, because you're making it safe for others, because I've seen bad driving due to cell phones. If you do that, pick a well-lit area, pick a busy area, not isolated, keep your doors locked, okay? And if your face is in your phone, every once in a while, look up and check your surroundings and go back to what you were doing. So well-lit, keep your doors locked, get in a busy parking lot. You don't want to be isolated in a car by yourself.
Well, good. And we've got about 30 seconds more. Any other last tip you want to give before we take a commercial break?
When you're walking, I recommend doing the buddy system. Jogging, exercising, walking, go with someone.
That's important. Well, thank you. We're going to take a short commercial break, so please stick around.
Camera one, switch audio, cue talent.
So GHS-TV was started in 1982 by Frank Bluestein, the department's founder.
It's a multi-million-dollar television studio, and students who are a part of it have the opportunity to do real-world work.
Welcome to GHS Insider, the show.
What makes this program unique is the students here. We come with a lot of potential and a lot of talent, and we also come with the mindset of we have to do this, we can do this.
In this class, we really have the ability to be as creative as we want to be.
On the show today, we take you to the side. When you see yourself on a screen, it's a feeling where it's like, I actually contributed to something, I actually did something that matters to people.
We have fun days, like when we do shows and we do a really good show, it's that adrenaline of like, oh wow, we just did a really good show, we did it. Hey everyone, I'm Brooklyn White.
And there's a real sense of pride that comes from completing a show that you have written, produced, thought of on your own. And that sense of pride is really important, and it keeps us motivated because we want to do more. We want to experience that feeling again.
We're always pushing the kids. We're always challenging them, and they rise to the challenge.
So the program has absolutely changed a lot for me. It has given me a view into the arts and has let me see that I really do enjoy working behind a camera as well as in front of the camera.
The future of our program really, a lot of times, is up to the students. It's their willingness to see beyond what is here and what it can be. Year to year, it changes with the students, but the ability of the students never changes.
Go Red Devils!
For more information about the Kappa program, visit ghskappa.com or call 755-7775. You're watching the award-winning GHS-TV, a nationally recognized student television station.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Business. If you're just tuning in, I'm Kelly Bolton, and today we have the distinct pleasure of talking with our guest, Mr. Scott Throckmorton. He's owner of Patriot Security Group, and we're just going to discuss some basic skills and tips on how to best protect and defend yourself. And we'll continue on our discussion about campus security. But before we do that, Scott, you own a company called Patriot Security, correct?
Yes.
Tell me what kind of services Patriot provides. I know you've talked a little bit about them as we were, in our first segment, but I'd like to hear a little bit more.
Well, a portion of Patriot is the training portion, whether it be self-defense or the handgun safety. We also provide licensing for private carry permits and armed and unarmed guards. So training in general is a part of it.
And do you have a facility that you do this at?
We do. I have an office in Collierville that has the space, and that's where we do the training at.
So if somebody wanted to do, we'll stop on that first thing. If somebody wanted to do firearms training,
right,
they would contact Patriot in Collierville, and they could sign up for a course. Are they private courses? Are they group?
They can be either or.
Okay.
Believe it or not, a lot of married couples will sign up 3 or 4
It's a
of
whole
them at a time.
New date time, right?
I've done parents and I've done their children. I've done, like you said, the married couples, and sometimes I'll get a request for a one-on-one, and I'll do that as well.
Okay, very good. So, so then you do it for security.
Right.
You do training for them, but not all security guards carry guns.
Correct. There are armed guards and there are unarmed guards, and I'm a state certified trainer for both. So it doesn't have to. You don't have to be employed with Patriot Security.
Okay.
I've probably trained 3,000 guards in the state of Tennessee.
Oh wow.
Multiple different companies. So.
Wonderful. So what? That's the first two things, and then you do also other security.
We do. We actually provide armed and unarmed guards for civilian clients and even governmental entities. But in fact, one of them recently here is NBC and Dwayne Johnson, The Rock.
Fabulous.
So we've been on that contract since the middle of September. Every filming location for his series, The Young Rock, we have guards on site. So that's a fairly large contract. Had to hire a lot of people, but
fabulous.
But we do churches, we've done some schools, we do special events. We've even got calls for security guards for weddings. So
I'm sure there's many reasons you might want a security guard for a wedding. That's awesome. Right. Well, is there any type of heightened security? I read something the other day, which is not a question that we talked about discussing, but it just made me think. I read something about the Department of Homeland Security issuing kind of a warning over the holidays of just heightened alert in religious organizations, schools, just the places that we gather collectively.
Right.
And
there's actually there's obviously a federal Department of Homeland Security, DHS, but there's also a state. Each state has their own equivalent. They may not call it the Department of Homeland Security. Tennessee is the Department of Safety and Homeland Security, and they'll typically mimic the warnings from the federal level.
Okay.
When you mention Christmas, that is obviously a Christian religious holiday.
Right.
And there are groups that destroy trees, that try to burn churches.
Right.
So any of these, it's kind of cyclical. It'll move up and down throughout the year based on what's happening.
So there's any number of things that you could be called in for a security
Absolutely.
detail. So how
Absolutely.
many employees do you have? I know everybody is not with you full time because is it more on contract basis?
Well, no, we hire our own employees. We interview, train, and hire our own. And right now we have 67, which is a mixture of armed and unarmed security officers, and we place them on contracts.
Very good.
So 67, and I've got a couple of operations managers. I've got accounts payable, accounts receivable, admin type of people. So,
do you train for any of the other security companies, or do you say I work in XYZ building? If there is a security company that has placed people that drive around in cars and are at the building, do they train their own, or do you train for those companies?
That's a good question. Both, actually.
That's what I was thinking.
Some larger security companies have their own in-house trainer, but there's about 143 security companies in Shelby County.
You are kidding
I am
me.
not kidding. And some of them are mom and pop operations, and some of them are very large operations. So the larger ones have their in-house trainer, but the smaller ones, they typically go to people like myself.
Interesting. I had no idea. Well, and unfortunately, in Shelby County, over the course of the last year or two, we've seen just things that I wish we had never seen. And we all, male, female, kids, older, we all are feeling somewhat threatened and a need to be aware. And is there, I'll speak as a female first. Is there anything as a female that I should be aware of or do to protect myself? I know you talked about going in pairs, but just like you said, I don't feel like I've got the strength. I mean, there's plenty of females way smaller than me, but I'm not as strong as you. If we arm wrestle, you're definitely going to win. Well,
I would hope.
I don't know, maybe not, maybe not.
Right.
But if we arm wrestle, I promise you're going to win.
Right.
But you know, I wouldn't even begin to know how to protect myself.
Part of the training I provide I've named it common sense self-defense. As I trained it at Hutchinson, I've trained it at Briarcrest, I train it with a lot of female students, and to include their moms and other teachers. And common sense self-defense shows you how to defend yourself by using the weakness of your opponent, and that weakness is soft targets. Now, what is soft target? That is eyes, ears, nose, fingers, toes. No matter how big and strong your opponent is, they're not going to have muscles on their eyeballs. Okay, and usually people laugh when I say that, but that's a very factual statement.
That's true. I think that's really true. As I'm thinking about that, I think I know where you're going, but we're going to take a break.
Okay.
We're going to cut for a commercial break, so please don't go away as we continue this discussion with Mr. Scott Throckmorton.
45 years ago, the Poplar Pike Playhouse came into existence under the direction of Frank Bluestein. And over the years, his reputation and the reputation of the program grew. And so students from the community just clamored to be a part of this program.
God bless us, everyone.
A student comes into Germantown High School that's interested in theater. They're going to start an introduction to theater. You get a great overview of what theater is. And then, if you want to continue in our program, then you have a choice of taking 2 other classes. You can take either acting or tech theater. That is very hands-on, and the students will learn a lot about set building, lighting design, sound design.
Something that's very unique about PPP is that the students do everything here. We do the lights, we do the set, we do the acting, we do the dancing. Everything you see backstage and on stage, a student is doing it. It is completely student ran.
The Poplar Pike Playhouse has definitely still grown my love for theater.
We want to do great work, and we really want this to be an experience for students that they will hold on to for the rest of their lives, and that they will take the things that they learned into their lives and help shape them into really productive citizens.
Everybody, 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 cut loose.
From more information about the Kappa program, visit ghskappa.com or call 755-7775.
You're watching the award-winning GHS-TV, a nationally recognized student television station.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Business. So glad you could join us. Today we've had the pleasure of speaking with Mr. Scott Throckmorton, owner of Patriot Security Group, to discuss some basic skills and tips on how to best protect and defend yourself. So Scott, I could talk all day because this is such a hot topic, but we talked at the break. I want to talk about training that you can do, whether it's for a school or for a business, about when there's an active threat. Okay. And self-defense. Can your company provide that?
Absolutely. I'm a certified trainer with ALICE, which is Alert, Inform, Counter, and Evacuate. I also did this service for and created the response for Hutchinson as a whole for 10 years. And I'm glad you used the term active threat, because a lot of people still use the term active shooter. And you can be an active threat with a baseball bat, with a knife. We've seen it on the news, even in parking lots. Or some type of chemical spray. You don't have to have a firearm for an active threat. Absolutely can train the staff. If they want individual or groups of 20, I can do the self-defense for whoever wants that as well. And I can come to your facility, because I can't train how to respond in an active threat if I'm not in your facility. So I can see your exits, I can see your offices, I can see how your furniture is set up. So
right.
I think that's a pretty good offer.
No, I think that is. And, you know, a lot of people, we won't get into the politics of gun before I talk about that. We won't get into the politics of whether you should have a gun or shouldn't have a gun or how that goes. But we do know a lot of people have guns, whether they've been trained in using the guns or they haven't been trained, whether they got them legally or illegally. There are a lot of people that have guns. Some have guns that I guess that are illegal guns. I don't know enough about guns, but you know, some have guns that are legal. But if you have a gun, I've seen and heard that, well, somebody may have used a weapon, but that was not a threat enough that warranted using their gun. So it seems to me that we've got two issues. Once again, not getting political, but that you have to be trained in how to use the weapon, and have the right and have a legal weapon. And the second thing is you need to know when you can use your weapon. So is that correct?
No, you're absolutely right. I can definitely respond to the second part of that statement. When to use. Tennessee Code Annotated states very clearly that in the prevention of death or severe bodily injury. Now, that type of what threatens me may be different than what threatens you. Can someone be verbally threatened or told what's going to happen to them if they don't comply to the point that it makes them feel in danger? Absolutely. If I'm 7 feet tall and weigh 350 and you're 5 feet tall, weigh 120, and I say I'm about to choke you, well, I don't have any weapons on me, but do I have the physical capability of doing what I say I was going to do?
Of course.
Absolutely. So that's a very good point you made about knowing when to use your firearm. And that is the best I can explain it. If you as an individual feel threatened of death, being killed, or severe bodily injury. Well, what's severe bodily injury?
I was going to ask you that.
That's broken bones. If you get hit in the head with a baseball bat, could you get a concussion? Could that, in essence, paralyze you if you got hit in the spine with a tire iron? Severe bodily injury.
That makes sense. And what about the stories you hear years ago growing up? I would hear people talk about somebody shooting an intruder when they were on the outside of their window before they got in. And they used to say, well, you got to pull them inside the house if you're going to shoot them.
But I've heard the same ones.
I mean, if somebody is on your property and tried to break into your house, I guess if you think that you're threatened severely, that would be one thing. But I guess if they're outside and they're walking around and you're not really threatened at that moment, you can't just walk outside and shoot them.
Right. And what you're describing is private property or curtilage, which is your yard, your fence, all the way up to the sidewalk or the road of where you live. So absolutely, if someone is walking back and forth and not coming at you, regardless of what they're saying, you'd be hard-pressed to win that court battle.
Because what you said, you don't have severe threat of bodily injury. Even if they're on your property, they have not threatened you in a way that would be...
Absolutely.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Now, what if they enter your home and they have not threatened you? They've not said, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to strangle you, but you're walking down the hall from your bedroom and you see an intruder in your kitchen.
That's equivalent to a home invasion. You don't know what that person's intent is at that moment. If you were to draw your weapon and fire, likelihood is you will not be charged because they have already broken into your home.
Right.
They have no legal reason to be there or right to be there.
Okay.
That's a little bit different.
That makes sense. So, you know, I guess it all is a matter of learning the rules. And I think you said earlier about knowing people's weaknesses, which is kind of using your brains over your brawns, which is, I guess, goes to the use of a firearm, is you just have to be smart. That's why you have to understand your firearm, know how to use your firearm, know when to know when to use it, all that sort of thing. So that makes
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think what concerns me a lot of times is unless you're trained with a weapon and you carry it as part of your job, you're making these decisions in less than 2 seconds.
That's what I was thinking. The people that are in security, police officers, I don't know how they do it because those decisions, that's 2 seconds is quick.
Right.
It's really quick. Well, we're going to come to a close, but before we do, once again, I want to thank you for your service.
You're
amazing.
welcome.
And do you have any tips for anyone that was thinking about starting a business to follow their dreams, be an entrepreneur? What would you tell them?
I would say choose something that is near and dear to your heart. Choose something you enjoy learning and then teaching. And you'll actually never work a day in your life.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. Well, it has been my pleasure. I definitely am going to reach out to you both for myself and for the company I work for because I would like to have you teach me a whole lot more. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you all for tuning in. We want to once again thank Mr. Scott Throckmorton, owner of Patriot Security Group, for being with us today and sharing his insight and expert advice on this most important subject. Our hope is that you learned something today that you can use in times of crisis. To get more information on our show, please check us out on the web at GHS-TV.org, where we're streaming live 24 hours a day. You can also check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I hope you've enjoyed our discussion, and I hope you will join us again next month on Let's Talk Business.